welcome back to my channel. My name is Jamie. For those of you who are new here, I make videos on sonography, makeup, lifestyle, and fitness, but mostly sonography because that's what most of you guys are here for to begin with. Anyways, I want to say thank you to everyone who's been here for a long time. I appreciate your love and support so much. And I figured today, because I've been going through my comments on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, and I figured I would answer a bunch of questions for you guys because there was quite a bit. So without further ado, let's hop on into this video. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm going to answer the most asked question and kind of address the comments that I get on this particular video. Okay, so this one video that I posted months ago on TikTok, and then I posted it on my YouTube shorts. I don't know what I was thinking. But it's basically, and you can go back and check it out if you want, but it's basically these little models that my business partner bought when she originally opened the studio, long before I bought the studio, right? And they are these amazing, in my opinion, these amazing little models that give you an accurate representation of each gestational stage for fetal development, right? So they start at like 6 weeks and they go all the way to 20 weeks. I have to admit, they do look really real, but if you see them in person, you can tell that they're not real. Like you can turn them over and they look completely different on the back side. And then when they're the little babies, you can hold them in your hand. You can see the artist who made them, their initials and everything. It's all clay. You can see like where it's cracked because they've been old. They're old. So with that being said, I posted that because I have a studio where I do OB scans and the 3D, 4D ultrasounds. And moms like to know, and same with dads, they like to know how big their baby is. It's kind of like the whole fruit thing. I've never understood the fruit thing because I'm very literal when it comes to stuff like that. If you tell me my baby is the size of an avocado, I'm going to wonder what kind of avocado, a large, a small, a Haas, a Guatemalan. That's just the way my brain works. So for me, I need like an actual representation. I would rather use canned goods to tell you the size of an 8-ounce baby, right? To me, that just clicks in my head a little better than fruit because I'm too literal. So to answer the question, are they real? Am I growing babies? What kind of person do y'all think I am? Like, I would never. That just sounds so, I don't know. That just sounds so like horror movie, like some Frankenstein crap. So no, I would not be growing babies. And no, they are not real. They are acrylic and clay models. And they are awesome. If you ask me, they're just great. So no, I'm not growing babies in a lab. I have no need to. What kind of person would that make me? Right. So with that, on that subject, I'd like to say, most of my comments that I've gotten on this video, whether it be on TikTok or on YouTube, have been very, very nice. A lot of them align with my beliefs, and I am so appreciative because it makes me feel better about the world that we live in. However, y'all are some sick people. Not all of y'all, but some of y'all have some sick comments to say. Like, it blows my mind. And now I know why. Long before I got into social media, now I know why some people would like delete comments or block comments. I don't see no point in it. If I read it and it's something that doesn't sit right with me, I'm just going to keep moving. So if you've left a nasty comment and I did not respond in any way, shape, or form, it is because your comment does not deserve my time. So for those of you who left sweet comments or even like genuine questions or even asking if they're fake or real, I'll answer those questions. That's why I'm making this video. So I appreciate you guys so much. So now on to the next question. We're past that, right? So RJB asked, as a sonographer, do you have to work nights? And That's kind of a question, like every circumstance is different, right? So it depends on where you're working and who you're working for, because some people are a little more understanding of your circumstances. Like maybe you're a single parent or something, and they may be able to accommodate that. But for the most part, if you are a new sonographer, you're more than likely going to work nights. And if you ask me, I think nights was where I learned the most, because I was by myself. So I didn't have the other sonographers to be my crutch to hold me up and me go ask questions to them. It made me look deeper for an answer or what I'm looking at. It made me use my brain to think a little harder on like how many pictures I should take or what other pictures I should take. And then research it before writing my report or calling the radiologist, right? So nights don't give you don't have that crutch of having other sonographers around. I mean, sometimes you might have one other sonographer with you maybe, but typically I was by myself when I worked nights. And it definitely helped with building relationships with the radiologists and the nurses. And I learned so much more by myself on nights. So I do think working nights is pretty crucial in your development as a sonographer. But are you going to? I mean, I know some people who've never worked nights, ever. I don't understand it, but I do know a few that have never worked nights. But the majority of us will work nights. And if you're like me, I actually enjoyed it. So the next question that I got is there flexible scheduling? Again, it depends on where you're working and who you're working for, like who's your boss, who makes the schedule. But if you're also talking about like flexible scheduling, like you'll hear people like nurses talking about trading shifts, right? So sonographers are the same way. We typically work front half, back half of the week. You either work A shift, B shift, C or D, right? Whatever your hospital calls it. If you're A shift, you're typically first half of the week and you're working mornings. And it's usually like 410s or 312s, whatever the case may be. And then it also depends on how much call you're taking too. But a lot of the times you can ask another sonographer if you can switch shifts with them, if you need a different day off, if you need a certain day off or whatever. So there's typically enough staff to where you can rotate. I know that I've heard that there has been a lot of staffing, like lower staffing. I don't know if it's just in the nursing field or if it's in sonography field, but there are lower staffing rates. So maybe it might be a little more difficult to get someone to switch shifts with you now, but I don't think that would be a problem. Okay, so the next question I got was, is the COVID vaccine required? I will tell you, when I was in the hospital, when I was working in the hospital, I was required to get the flu shot. And if I didn't, I had to wear a mask. I know before I got out of the hospital, they were mandating the COVID vaccine unless you got your religious exemption or if you had a medical exemption that helped you not get the vaccine. So yes, then it was. I don't know what it is now. I would assume it probably is still in effect, but they're probably a little more lenient on what kind of exemptions you can have. I don't know. I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. So don't hold that against me. I don't know. RJB's next question was, can you choose where to apply? Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's say you get out and you know that you don't want to work in a hospital, but you want to work in a clinic. You can specifically apply to clinics. Like they have vein clinics, they have urologists, they have endocrinology where you can do thyroids all day. They have the women's center, the breast center, all kinds of things. So you could definitely choose if you want to work in a clinic versus a hospital. Again, I'm going to tell you, if you're new and you want to know your stuff, the best way to learn is going in a hospital, because you are going to have so many different scenarios, different patients. It's just so, there's so much to learn. And even being a sonographer for as long as I have, I'm still learning. I still see new things that I've never seen before. So even working in OB, working in my own studio, I see things that I haven't seen before. So that is, I think working in a hospital is great. It might not be for you, but you'll definitely learn way more working in the hospital. On my last video, I think it was my last video, I got a comment. I think it was like 5 things I wish I knew before getting into sonography. And AC asked about bodily fluids. They said, when you speak of bodily fluids, does that mean you have to clean up the bodily fluids? That's a 2-part question. So let's say you're doing a paracentesis. If you're doing a paracentesis, you are setting up for the procedure. You're there to help the doctor with the timeout. You're setting the patient up, you're scanning, and you are sitting with the patient while you're draining all the fluid and you're having a conversation with them, right? So when your canister is full, you will switch out your canister. You do have to be careful because you don't want that to splash on you, right? So you will be switching out your canister if they have that much fluid, right? And then you're going to be putting a solidifier in it, and then you're going to close it, you're going to shake it, and then you take it to biohazard, right? So there, you are dealing with it. Now, let's say you have a patient who comes into the ER for vaginal bleeding, and I'm talking, they are bleeding all over the place because this happened to me, and so there's blood all on the floor, and all that other stuff. You can then call housekeeping, and housekeeping will come and clean it properly, make sure they disinfect. So like definitely like your C. diff patients, like if you have a C. diff patient and they get fecal matter or anything like that, you can call housekeeping and they will come and clean up everything. So yes, you're dealing with fluids, and yes, you're handling it. It can be in a clean manner, but if you have like a huge mess where bodily fluids are everywhere, you can call housekeeping. So no, you're not cleaning up everything. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, a question that I get all the time is, how long is ultrasound school? And it all depends. I knew a lot of people who went and got their bachelor's degree. I got my associate's degree. So my school was going through a trade school. It was KHEP accredited and state accreditation as well, but it took me 2 years. It was about like 18 months to 2 years. It all depends on if you have your gen ed credits already or not. So schooling is about 2 years for your Associates of Science degree. It is very important to look at the accreditation. I've done a video on accreditation before. I can always do an updated one if need be, but definitely make sure your school is accredited and that you are actually getting a degree, because I don't know how the certification process goes, like if you get your certification, but for me, if I was going to spend that much money on going to school, I might as well get a degree, especially if the classes are the same length of time. So I went ahead and got my Associates of Science. So the next question I get is, am I too old to go back to school? I will say this. Ultrasound can be hard on the body if you're not properly practicing your ergonomics or your proper ergonomics. So it can be, like for me, for instance, I get a lot of shoulder pain, even though I bring like my patient as close to me as possible. And even though I practice good ergonomics, my shoulder will still hurt. And I think it's just because I have like weak rotator cuffs. Like I don't do enough back exercises to help that. And I can do a video on that. Maybe I'll do a short on the exercises that you should do in order to keep your rotator cuffs straight or strong and help roll your shoulders back. Because if they're rolling forward, you're gonna have injury, and you want to take care of yourself. So with the fact, to answer the question, if you're too old to go back to school, I don't think you're ever too old for schooling. If you can go and work night shifts and so on and so forth, definitely ultrasound is a great career to get into, even if you're changing your career field later in life. Like if you're in your 30s, 40s. I had a friend who went back to school right after I went back to school. She said that I inspired her to go back to school, which makes my heart just feel good. But she went back, and I want to say she was in her early 50s at the time. Like she and I were pretty close, and she's still doing it. She did switch, however, over into cardiac. So she is now an echo sonographer. So if I said that right. So she is no longer doing general sonography or OB or MFM, but definitely still a sonographer. So another question that I get all the time is, can you like cross train? So I got this question actually yesterday that kind of brought it back to my forebrain here. But they asked if they are a cardiac sonographer, if they can train to do fetal echoes. And I noticed when I went on the ARDMS website that there are fetal echo testing available for RDMS and also for the cardiac sonographer. So there are two different tests, and I don't know if there's a curve like on that, because you already know the heart and now you're having to learn fetal circulation and all the different pathologies or abnormalities the heart can have, like as fetal heart development goes. So I don't know, but I do know that as a registered sonographer, if I wanted to sit for another specialty, like let's say I wanted to go into pediatrics and I wanted to sit for that registry, I would have to have somebody sign off on that. And I want to say, actually, let me look that up. And so I'm on the ARDMS website right now, and it has the forms that you need. And on that form, basically it says you must use the correct form for each applied. Please upload this form to the portal. To be eligible to sit for this specialty examination, the applicant must be able to demonstrate the following minimum core clinical skills necessary to establish eligibility for ARDMS examinations. Demonstration of minimum core clinical skills means that the sponsor directly observed the applicant perform the minimum core clinical skills independently and effectively. For purposes of satisfying this requirement, applicants must be evaluated while scanning actual patients. Simulation is not acceptable for this assessment. Applications are responsible for meeting the requirements at the time of application. So yes, you can sit for those exams. And I mean, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to try to get the shortcut, right? So there's going to be somebody who's going to be like, oh, they're going to have a friend who is a cardiac sonographer and their friend's probably going to sign for them. But are you supposed to do that? No. You definitely need to know what you're doing before you can sit for that exam. And not only that, is if you know what you're doing, and it makes it a lot easier to study and know what you're testing. So you can definitely change specialties. You can definitely sit. So like if you're a cardiac sonographer and you're wanting to learn fetal echo, you could definitely do that. However, you might want to do fetal echo, but if you don't know how to scan OB, you're going to have a hard time doing fetal echoes. So you definitely need to be in that specialty, at least trained so you can do it independently, right? Or at least that's what I would think. And also too, looking at the CV form here is what you'd want. Another question that I get is if I deal with a lot of patients in pain, and how do I handle it? Yes, you deal with a ton of patients in pain. Even in OB, you definitely deal with patients in pain. Some people I've heard stories, like this one person told me about like how they handled their clinical sites and their externship and how rough it was and how much they dealt with. And yes, it can be pretty tough. And sometimes depending on what hospital you get at, you could see a whole bunch of stuff that may scare you away from sonography. But honestly, if you look at it as in like you learned from it, I think it's great. I mean, unfortunately, nobody wants to see anybody get hurt or anybody going through something or loved ones losing someone. But it definitely helps you as a sonographer build that confidence in your skill. And also you build the knowledge on what to expect, right? So I definitely think that it is good to experience that, but yes, you will be dealing with people in pain. And the way that I handle it is I try to sympathize with them, try to show compassion. And I think of everybody as if they're my own family, regardless of our beliefs, our color, our ethnicity, or whatever. You're my family, and that's how I'm going to treat you and how I'm going to treat everyone, because I would hate for somebody in my family to go to the hospital and be treated poorly based on a physical judgment or just somebody having a crappy day. Sometimes, or at least for me, sometimes even if I'm having a crap day and I go in and I have a customer or a patient who is just positive, or maybe I made them feel better, that will turn my whole day around. So that's how I look at everything. There's always a silver lining. In fact, my husband gets irritated with me because I always find something positive in everything. And he'll tell me, like, if he's in a mood and he does not see anything positive in it, he's like, right now is not the time for silver lining. So if that's all you've got for me, I can't talk to you right now. And I think it's funny. I think it's great that we have that communication level, but he knows that about me. So I always try to find the positive in everything. And the last thing that I want to say is, and the last question I get is, what made me switch from general sonography and vascular sonography to go into MFM? I've done a video on that. It kind of worked out. I feel like it was where I was meant to be, and I think that it was a way that God kind of pushed me in a direction. I feel like I've made more of an impact being an MFM sonographer, but at the same time, like, I just love the interaction with the mothers, the families when they are pregnant, and just educating them on the things that I'm able to tell them about, and just experiencing that joy with them. And even if it's not joy, if it's something sad, that I can be there for them and be a shoulder for them to cry on, or whatever the case may be. I mean, when I was working on call as an MFM sonographer, I would go downtown and I would see these moms for months on end because they were just in the hospital, because whether they had like premature rupture of membranes or hypertension, whatever the case may be, and they're on bed rest in the hospital, I built these relationships with them. And then when they had their babies, they send me their pictures of their babies, like as if I was a family member or a friend, and they leave me these sweet cards and these notes. And it was very nice. I really enjoy that part of everything. I'm not saying that you don't get that on the other side, like on abdominal, general, vascular. I'm not saying that you don't get that, but I found it to be more so in OBGYN, and it's just a little more gratifying for me. So that is why I ultimately switched to that. And I just love ultrasound so much that I hope that my body allows me to continue being a sonographer for as long as possible. So yes. Also, guys, before I end this video, I made a video over my ultrasound machine, and I made it like 2 weeks ago, and I was editing it today, and I don't know why. It is so boring to me. I don't know how to make it more interesting. I don't. So if you want me to put that video up, I'm more than happy to post it if that's something you guys might be interested in. But I haven't taken a break on making videos. I was just kind of like, I don't know if I should even post this. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making this video because I enjoy like talking and answering the questions you ask, and it's so much easier than texting or typing. But anyways, if you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And thank you so much for being here, and I hope you all have a blessed day.